Good evening, paranormal community, and thank you for partaking here in the Honesty Files. I'm your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, after a fresh cup of chili, it's my co-host, Mr. David Soring. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, paranormal community. I had to get some food in my belly before the show tonight because I know it's going to be a good one. And so I'm like, I got to hurry up and eat.
Yes.
And it just the sweet potatoes just got tender. I did a new recipe tonight. I made sweet potato black bean chili that just kind of whipped it up. I'll tell you what, man, it came out good. You wouldn't like it because it's got a little spice to it.
I was going to say, it sounds terrible, but if you like it.
It's because you don't know how to eat.
What do you mean I don't know how to eat?
Well, you eat. Yeah, you eat.
You can't tell me I don't know how to eat.
No, you know how to eat. Right. You do know. I apologize. I retract that statement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apology accepted.
I was looking to go for the fresh stuff tonight. Kind of a healthy chili. There is some ground beef in there, though.
Healthy chili?
Yeah,
isn't that an oxymoron?
No, because that's where turkey white bean chili came from.
That also
I can't eat that either. So, but I'm just saying, it's out there. It's out there for the people who like kale and white beans and ground turkey, and then a white chili sauce, which I'm a traditional blue collar chili guy.
I understand. And is the reason why you're talking about food because you don't want to talk about football?
Well, I'll tell you what. Phenomenal game today. I thought we had it after the strip on the fumble and the return for the touchdown with 3 minutes left. All we needed was a first down. Just couldn't do it. And they came marched down the field. And I'm not disappointed at all. Detroit's a good team. I take nothing away from Detroit. And we played really well today. So, I mean, if you're going to lose with a field goal in the last minute and walk off the field knowing you played a great game, unlike Dallas, who got absolutely blown out at home like 57-13 by Tampa Bay a week ago.
I shouldn't say unfortunate. I was with my team doing evidence review today, so I didn't get to watch the game.
I didn't see the Packers game, but I saw the score, and I get that looked like a good game too.
Yep, yes, it did. Speaking of playing a good game,
yeah,
we have an amazing guest tonight.
We do. 2 weeks in a row. Now, when's the last time you saw us have a guest on 2 weeks in a row?
Well, we always have guests 2 weeks on in a row. It's
same guest. Yeah, same guest on.
Sorry. None, because typically we're one and done until months later.
Yeah,
but see, this is more of an extension because we were all robbed last week.
Oh, absolutely.
Of it, in which we are going to talk about first. But
we are. Kathy's got
yes, indeed. And so, without further ado, I welcome back to the Odyssey Files, Dr. Cathy Chapman. Hello, Kathy.
Hello,
welcome.
Guys. Hello.
Welcome back, Kathy.
I'm delighted to be back especially after being so unceremoniously kicked off last week.
We have taken a poll to see how long we're going to last this time.
2 hours, baby.
That's the hope, isn't it?
That's the hope.
So people who listened to last week's episode know that things from Dave and my perspective, like you just froze and then you were gone and you were never to return. And so we kind of mumbled a bunch of stuff until we gave up and then we ended the show. So, I mean, but with you losing power, what was that like on your end, like for you?
Well, what was strange about it is sometimes when the internet goes out, I'm in the middle of a thought. The whole electricity went out at about a 2-block radius, and then the electric company was in a house. Something was wrong with the box, and it wasn't our house. Our house wasn't it, but I had completed a thought with y'all. It was like a stopping point. Mm-hmm. Well, you were just, chastising me for not breathing and just going straight ahead. And it's like,
who that was. That was not me.
It's like, as soon as it happened, it stopped. But it was
a friendly recommendation, Kathy.
So, and I can go. It's like I tell my clients, I said, now you'll need to stop me because I go like a locomotive going really fast down the track. And so if you want to say something, do this or interrupt or something like that. Yeah, that would work too. So in one way, it's like, okay, let's just stop where we are after this complete thought. It's like place for an ad, but the electricity was just out. And
Yeah.
that is usually it's the internet that I have trouble with. And there will be times I'm in the middle of we have our Sunday ceremonies, which consists of some fun things. And sometimes it'll go out then, or sometimes the internet will go out when I'm doing a group healing session.
Yep.
Or bringing in usually something that's new, that's really exciting, that I can talk about how my particular healing guides or my spiritual team that I work with say, we have something new for you today. We want to show you how to develop a different kind of energy structure to protect yourself. And there are a lot of forces that don't want the kind of stuff that y'all talk about to come in. And they don't want the healing stuff that I talk about to happen because it's really simple to do if you just know how to do it.
So do you think that there are outside forces causing your internet and your power to go? Or do you think you just have a really crappy service?
Well, it's nice that the outside forces don't have to work so hard with our crappy service.
So they work in tandem, is what you're saying.
They work in tandem, but there's been a lot of spiritual influences where people will just suddenly disappear or discombobulate other people where they're not thinking correctly. I had 2 times that I couldn't get the camera to work. I just couldn't. And then I was checking it out afterwards. They still could hear me. They just couldn't see me. And I plugged the external mic in instead of the camera. And so that was my total thing, but like being discombobulated and sometimes you get this thing of wanting to be thrown off of your kilter and losing space. And I've managed to learn not to do that. The only time I really do that is when the dog starts screaming at me and says, come on, go home. And I left the dog with Barb this afternoon. So, but there are things that are definitely trying to interfere. That's my
agree. And yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah. And I like the fact that you brought up that it could be just something as simple as trying to sidetrack you mentally, because, it doesn't always have to be this great catastrophe. It's just a simple, subtle, what you're doing. You've done it 100 times. And all of a sudden, for some reason, now you're not doing it, or you're doing something different, and you don't understand it because you don't realize that you did something different.
Correct.
Until it's over, and then you're looking at it and you go, well, wait a second, why in the hell did I plug in the microphone and not the camera?
That's right. It can be that simple.
It is.
And that's why on a spiritual level, I began by creating the heart source, and was given the heart source in one of the channelings that I have. And I teach all my clients how to do that, because when you are in this heart source, it is protects against energy coming in, and it protects when you think that you're nervous or in fear or something like that. And it's, I call it a simple 7-step process, but it works. It's stronger than just being in your heart. And it really helps a lot of people, because many people don't know that when you're under stress and you're in fear, your physical brain literally shrinks. It may only be a millimeter or so, but it's like, whoa, it shrinks, and we get compression in the brain. That's going to cause all kinds of things with the blood flow, which causes all kinds of things depending on where the blood flow is reduced and what happens, whether it's your temporal lobe or parietal lobe or your occipital lobe, or you can't get the messages across the corpus callosum. It's just really interesting how that happens. And people don't realize, especially those that don't know about the chakras in your energy field, They don't realize that when you're in fear, it closes down your third chakra, the solar plexus chakra. And that is all about your sense of personal power. And when that's closed down, you're not feeling powerful. You're not feeling self-confident. You're not feeling like, hey, I got this. I can do this. And you start, whether it's stuttering, which comes in with your throat chakra or something like that, it can really change things. Simple things. I'm breathing.
I noticed that. That was for Mike's benefit.
I know it was.
Oh.
Well, I was just waiting for you, Dave, because you wanted to talk about your.
Well, no,
Your
I didn't want to bust. Yeah, well, I that wasn't the segue for me to jump into my experience with her when she's talking about chakras, and I just was pausing to see if you had any questions off of that.
The only question I have is more of a joke question, and I was just going to let it go.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I can let it go.
But I
Okay.
like jokes.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe you like this one because I mean it in all funness. So you say when we're stressed and frustrated, when our mind shrinks.
Our
So
brain,
our brain shrinks. Sorry, our
Right.
brain shrinks.
Physical, not.
that's
Right.
been shown by scientific researchers.
I was going to say. So does arrogance and ego make your brain get bigger? Is that why we call it getting a big head?
That is a nice joke, but what actually happens with arrogance and ego is that our hubris, how about that for the hubris that people sometimes have, is that affects your chakra system, that affects the energy system. Because when you are in arrogance and ego, you can't hear other people. You can't look at another perspective. You can't listen with your whole self and go, oh, hey, it's not all about me. Because that's what arrogance and ego is that it's all about me.
That's fair.
So you're listening, but you're not hearing.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that about my management at work all the time. They're
Yeah,
hearing
it happens a
they're
lot.
they're hearing our words, but they ain't listening.
Right. Very much so. Have a new friend. I guess he's still in the acquaintance stage, but a new friend. And he's a really good handyman that knows lots of different things. And he is intent about helping women. And he says, what do you think's the number one thing? And I said, the number one thing is to listen, to not do what you think they need, but to listen to them about what they need. And many people will go in to help someone out of the goodness of their heart, male or female. They'll go in to help someone, but then they're not listening to what they need. They think, well, I think that they need this. So let's take women who have come out, who don't have education and have come out of really abusive situations. And there's this group, I don't know if they're still in Houston or not, but when I was still moving, I got to meet a group of them. It was called Women Helping Women. And if there's still that going on, that's wonderful. But the women said that all the people that would work with these women before said, well, what you need to do is get a GED. And she said, we talked to them, and that's not the first thing that they need. They don't need a GED. They need quick training in how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so this group gathered together all kinds of things of which you did need a diploma, and that could be learned easily, that brought income. Then they can go back and get some other education. Have you ever wondered, I don't know, this with at the end of the Vietnam War, for people who may not be aware of the end of the Vietnam War, is that manner left Hanoi when it fell. Attorneys, physicians, engineers, and everything. And here are all these women. They say, okay, how can we put them in a place to make money? You may not go to it, but there are people you may know that go to pedicures and what else are they called? fingers. I don't do this very often, as you can tell. Manicures and
Manicure?
pedicures.
Manicures.
And what you find is there are a lot of Vietnamese women who work in that field. Why?
Yes.
Because they could come in, get trained fairly quickly, and make money, be on their own and subsist. That's why there's so many Vietnamese that do that.
And they're good at it.
And they're good at
Yeah.
it. And so you look at that for all people that are in need. Is it that you need? I need an income. I need an income. So by collecting together, these things are fast. You can learn how to, at that time, this was, 30 years, taught women how to paint signs, do signage on trucks and other things like that. Now they've got all kinds of technology. It's actually more involved. There were certain government things that you could do that were inspections that you didn't need a diploma for. You just needed to know to do the inspection and pass the test, and they could start bringing some income in, feed themselves, feed their family, go out and have their own apartment, things like that. And so that's actually, let's bringing it back to our role in working with your Odyssey files. And which is interesting because my business name is Odyssey to Wholeness, which is a journey into bringing wholeness to the individual. So one of the things that I have to do, I was a licensed social worker in Texas, and now I call myself a life coach because my license didn't transfer to Arizona, is where do people need wholeness and the journey to wholeness? And part of that is listening and then being able to have the tools to say, oh, there's this out here, there's this out here, how to handle that. In the more supernatural realm, I would get parents call me in a panic and say, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, except they heard that I worked with this. I have a 7-year-old who sees ghosts. He's terrified. Is he crazy? Does he see ghosts? And I said, well, that's my job. That's one of the things that I do is somebody comes in and says they see things, and or to evaluate whether they need to be a psychiatrist or whether we need to work with them and show them how they can work with it and how they can handle it.
I think the first great step in that, and I work with kids. Like I grew up in a situation where I was kind of thrown into the fire when I was about 3.5 years old with an entity in my house. And that's what has brought me into this field for the last 56 years. And so I like to work primarily with families with kids that are scared and need help and educate the parents and stuff like that. So I think that's fantastic that you do too. The one thing I will say, is I think that irregardless of whether you think the kid needs psychiatric, possibly to sit down with somebody in the psychiatric field, I still think irregardless of that, empowering them with the knowledge that we know that will keep them safe is priceless.
Yes.
Now, whether they still need to go to that second stage and get a little bit more help, that's cool, right? I mean, that's cool. If you need the help, you need the help. But as a first step, giving them the strength, taking away the fear, and giving them back what they deserve to have and not be stripped away from them is the most important thing to me.
I agree.
Kids.
And the thing that I
For
would
most of us.
change what you would say a little bit. Instead of taking away the fear, teach them how to release the fear.
Okay.
So that they're empowered and learn how that they can focus on particular parts of your body, as in the heart.
Yep.
And you become calmer and learn what Michael instructed me to do. Breathe. The power in the breath. Recommended.
Saint Michael.
The power of focusing on your heart center. Some people are scared by the name chakra, but just say right here in the center of your chest, your heart center. And It works just as well, by the way, to focus on your physical heart, which doesn't seem to bother people as much. There's been a lot of research done on that with a company called heart math, and have found how all you have to do is focus on your heart, and your brain and your heart become entrained. They work together. Whereas if you focus on your head, that doesn't happen with your heart. It's the heart. The heart's the real brain. And many people don't know that scientists, unlike people like ourselves in certain ways, where we do this paranormal stuff, well, the scientists have discovered actual neural tissue, that's brain tissue, in the heart.
Really?
So now the heart is called the heart brain.
Well, you learn something new every day.
How about that?
That's
And people
interesting.
think of endocrine systems, your hormones. Well, the heart is one of the big producers of oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, which is what the pituitary gland does, and a huge hormone when a woman is giving birth, the bonding hormone. And all of these things that some people may have said, well, you can just focus on the heart and this happens. Or we've talked about cellular memory for eons. And now scientists are discovering that there is something called cellular memory. Or we talk about generational healing. Scientists have now discovered that trauma changes the DNA. So we are now getting lots of scientific study that is showing some of the things that people that have been involved in what you might call alternative or complementary things, such as acupuncture, have known for ages in doing healing work. When I used to do it in person, that's before COVID kind of thing. And when I was in Houston, you could touch someone and the memories would come out. And you ready for a fun story? This is a fun story. I was teaching healing touch. You notice I asked you the question, but I didn't give you a chance to answer. Breath, right. Okay, so I was teaching healing touch, which was the first modality that I actually learned about being able to manage the energy. And there was this guy that came up. It was at a break, and he said, do you think you could help me? I have had pain in my knee for ages, and I haven't been able to get rid of physical therapy. And we'll lay down on the table. We work with massage tables. And he laid down on the table, and I put my hand on his knee, and I'm going to do some healing touch called the chakra and just some balancing. And I start getting all of these images. And I said, do you fall like off like when you were 12? And he kind of gulps and goes, uh-huh. And I said, and were you doing something you weren't supposed to be doing? And his eyes get big and he goes, uh-huh. And I said, I want you to focus down here. And I had him talk to the energy in his knee. And this was ages ago, and I can't remember what he said, but I showed him how to reduce. Oh, I know what it was now. Somebody's reminding me. It was the fear of not looking like an idiot in front of his friends, i.e., I can't cry, I can't cry. It hurts, I hurt my knee, I can't cry in front of them. And so that was still trapped in his knee, and I showed him how to release it, which is really easy, folks. It's just with your breath. You get in touch with it, talk to it, say you don't want it anymore, tell it to leave, and take a deep breath and breathe it out like you're breathing a cloud. That guy followed me around for the rest of the weekend because he didn't want to miss anything because his knee suddenly had no pain in it. And that is an example of your memory. And it really is easy. When you know how to do it, it is easy to be able to change a lot of that. Some of it's not that easy to change. You can have cellular memory from past lives. So I've had women where something has gotten better. I was working with this one who had hip problems, and I had my hands on her hip, and I can do it without putting my hands on them, just by tuning into their energy when we're on Zoom. And suddenly I started seeing, I said, whoa, I saw a carriage accident in which she broke her hip. I saw one of those ancient Roman chariot races in which somebody tried to stop them by bashing into their thing. I saw her falling out of a tree when she was a kid. All of those things, and all of these things images started coming up, and I told her what it was. I said, just be open, tell it you don't need it anymore. And there's a healing prayer that I often use and teach people how to do. And she did much better after that. It wasn't totally cured because she had to get some chiropractic adjustments and things and still had to work with it on the third dimensional level. But the pain was reduced dramatically. That's mind-body psychology, by the way, which is what my doctorate is in. And when we begin to realize how powerful our mind is and how our intention is, when we truly discover how powerful our thoughts are, we can change all kinds of things within us, and we can learn to talk to our body and to find out, here's another fun story. This is about talking. So this woman came in, and she's on my massage table. This is still in Houston, and she's on the massage table. She said, my feet hurt. My feet hurt. And I said, well, let's see what we can find. And so she had taken her shoes off, and she was laying down on the table. And I said, I want you to just connect with your shoes. Just bring not your shoes, with your feet. Just bring your attention to your feet, like you're talking to a dog or an infant, something like that, where you're just really focusing on it. And now I want you to just tell your feet hi. She goes, hi, how are you? And then say, ask your feet if there is anything that you can do so that they won't be in pain. You're going to love the answer. You know what they said? Get new shoes. And she was wearing shoes with very pointed toes.
Mm-hmm.
That was setting her body off balance. They were pretty good heels, setting her body off balance, and her feet just hurt. She got new shoes, and the pain went away. That is the easiest way when you know how to do that. And you can focus on any part of your body and find out why it is upset and what you can do. Doesn't mean you'll do it, right? But you can find out what would be the best thing to do. You can find out if it's generational. Sometimes I find out there's a spirit or an entity that's caught in there, and I help them to release the entity. Sometimes it is someone from their family who died of something but hasn't gone on, and the person is taking on the pain that person died of. It's just amazing how that happens.
It happens to me when I walk into investigations.
Yes.
I'll double over at times. So sick, instantaneously nauseous, and sick, like my stomach's going to explode out of my body. That horrific of pain, like I'm literally dying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been times when I had to walk out with tears streaming down my face, hunched over, because I'm like, what? Like my appendix just burst, or something
Mm-hmm.
horrific just happened in my own body. And as soon as I step over the threshold and step outside into some fresh air out of the building, 10 seconds later, I'm completely fine.
It's
Standing
amazing
upright,
how that works.
pain is gone. Yeah, being an empath at times sucks. Especially when you get blindsided,
Yes.
And so I've learned, obviously, I would probably still wouldn't be here if I hadn't. I've learned to ground myself, and I've learned to protect myself. But that, those times when I either don't think I need to, are the times that come back and usually bite me really hard in the ass.
Yeah. The one time
it happened at the place in White Bear Lake.
Accident.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just bad,
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I get it. I get what you're saying. But I want to, okay. So before we get too far along here, we're 30 minutes in. I'm going to consider that a success.
Okay, we did it.
Okay.
No,
we're past the threshold.
I want to point out, though, that during that first 30 minutes, there was a hell of a battle going on for your internet connection.
There was. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
There was a couple times you started to like phase out, or like you were choppy or whatnot. And I'm like,
I thought we were going to lose you, and I was like, damn, 2 weeks in a row.
and then you'd come back, and then like maybe a minute later it'd start to do it again. I'm like, they're fighting.
What's
I actually
interesting
closed
is
my eyes and said a prayer. When I closed my eyes, I was actually praying for protection over you and your house.
thank you.
And when I opened my eyes back up, you were gin clear and
I-
everything was going perfectly. So
And see, what's
I-
interesting about that is I did not get the message internet out of balance or whatever they usually put on there. I got
Yeah.
no message that there was anything going on.
no, that you were freezing and you were freezing up on us again. Like I thought we were going to lose you again.
Yep.
But okay, so I want to share this with you and get your feedback on it. So I astral project. I used to a lot. I don't as much as I'm getting older because I choose not to. I still can, but I've done some stupid things while I'm astral projecting. So I'm kind of stop nodding your head, Mike. I'm kind of staying away from it now. I know you're doing it subconsciously, but
Oh no, that was
so
completely on purpose.
I believe you. So anyway, I want to share this with you and get your feedback from it. So for listeners who heard it already, sorry, but so I was in a dream, and the dream was going to be great, and I was at a place I really enjoyed being, and I was with people I really enjoyed being with, and we were having this great, very interactive time. And all of a sudden, I felt this strange vibration come into my space, and I paused for a second, and I remember looking over my shoulder, and I felt this. It wasn't a heaviness, but it was an envelopment, and I literally went and got sucked completely out of where I was and found myself standing out in low desert scrub brush. Okay. Now I have no idea why I'm there. Sun shining, not a cloud in the sky, kind of a reddish sand, little scrubs here and there, a few trees here and there type of thing. Not very beautiful scenery, but nothing that bothered me. And so I started walking, kind of wondering why I was there. So I kind of went exploring. And as I was walking for a little while, I noticed off in the distance there was a figure of what appeared to be from that distance of like a human. And so I saw it, and I decided to walk towards it, and I did. And as I got closer and closer, I noticed it was a man, very old, very dark skin. I would not say African American, but very dark skin. Um, Writings on him, like a lot of ink, a lot of tattoo work, but not tattoos per se, just writing, script writing that I couldn't understand, and kind of glyphs and stuff like that. And he motioned to me to come closer as I had paused. Once I could see him clearly, I kind of paused for a minute, and I just kept kind of a distance in between us, and wondering why I was there. And he was kind of, I wouldn't say smiling, but he didn't give off a negative vibe, and he was waving to come over to him, to come closer. So I did. I approached him, and we stood there kind of looking at each other for, it seemed like 10 minutes. So let's just say it was a minute, right? As we were just kind of eyeing each other up and down. And then he kind of does this smile, and he asks me, we never spoke, but we spoke. Okay. It was more of a telepathic thing. And he asked me for a hug. And so I paused for a second, and I thought, well, this is really strange. I'm out here. I was where I wanted to be, doing what I wanted to be doing. And now I'm out here in some landscape that's completely unfamiliar to me. And I've got a guy who doesn't appear threatening, but I think he brought me here. Like, that's the feeling I got, is that he brought me to that location. And then he now has called me over, and now he wants to kind of physically embrace me. And again, I didn't feel anything bad. So I decided to hug him. So I did. So we embrace, and it's a very warm, loving, God, I don't know, hugging your dad, right before he goes into hospice. or something, right? It's just this overwhelming emotional release. And I give him this hug, and we're embraced for a little bit, probably a minute. And I let go. Take my arms off of him, and I had my eyes closed, and I took a step back. And when I opened up my eyes, there was a little boy there, about 8 years old, and had none of the tattoos on him, but he was of the same skin color. And he had a handprint on the side of his rib cage right here, a human handprint, but it was small, about like this big, okay, on the side of his rib cage right here. And he looked at me and he smiled, and I got thank you in my mind. And then boom, I was back to where I was.
He's
So what do
pausing to
you
let that
think it
sink
is?
in.
Yeah.
Huh?
What do you think it is?
I think that whatever that was needed something from me, and needed that physical touch, because I think they were looking to complete themselves in some sort of transformational type of journey. So whether that be like a rebirth type of thing, and I think that possibly I carry something with me that most people don't, and he recognized it, and it was the last piece of the puzzle that he needed to, I use this term lightly, but to kind of be reborn.
So this week you have an energy over that would be your right shoulder that I didn't see there last week. And it is, you have two actually. One of them is Archangel Michael. I think Archangel Michael works with you. But the other is a male. Well, it shifts back and forth between a male and a female energy, which I interpret as being a soul that has been with you in incarnations as male and as female. When it's female, it's almost like a grandmother energy.
Okay.
When it's male, it is a spiritual mentor energy.
Okay.
And I didn't notice that last week. But this week, it was one of the first things I noticed when you came in and were eating your chili. Is that it
Are you
was
sure that wasn't just fumes from the chili?
I really think so, Michael.
Heat distortion.
But and you said did you say Starship? Did I hear that? I thought, what did you say to him?
I didn't say anything.
Okay, because I heard
I didn't say a single thing.
You didn't say anything because I heard Starship, and I have been thinking as different things. There's something about you being a starseed. That was also an activation for you. He was able, it's like he was, when you said rebirth, he had to pass on an energy to you and did some activation in your own particular energy field and what I call elements that activated certain things within you that is going to help you to go deeper in your work with other people. It may give you some protection as an empath, like a protective energy that's going to help you more easily to not hold on to other people's emotions. But I think you met someone who knows you well and that you on a spiritual level know well. And that little boy was you. That's what I'm picking up.
Like I saw myself as a reflection type of moment?
Yes. In a dimension, in another, let's say parallel universe. What most don't realize that we may have one soul. I call it the soul self. But we incarnate. The newer souls are those that are not as and when I say advanced, I don't mean it in a hierarchical way, but have gained more experience, many times will incarnate in more than one place at one time. And so I have come to know my intergalactic self, and I know myself in this lifetime, and I think there's actually another self, and it's all happening at the same time. And we will get, like the merging of the dimensions will come in. What are you laughing about?
Oh my God. Christ. Our good friend Cena told me about a year or two ago now. And Cena, I love you. But she told me that everything is happening, past, present, and future is happening simultaneously, exactly at the same time. And I just can't get my head around that. And so it's been a running joke between Mike and I for a long time. Like,
So
I
here
can
it
get my head
is.
around everything paranormal, everything. I have met nothing yet that I can't wrap my head around or understand. But I cannot understand. I just cannot. I just can't do it. I just don't understand. I don't know if I'm thinking about it too logically. I don't know if I just need to shut up and let my own open up my heart and my soul and just let it absorb the idea. I don't know. I don't know what's
So
right. I
let's
don't
say
know.
you have in front of you the book of your soul.
Okay.
There's no time with it.
Right.
And let's say you have another book of short stories.
Okay.
You open a short story, you don't need to follow it or anything like that. With your book of your soul, you can just open it and tune in to whatever is there, anywhere it is. And sometimes it's ancient. I learned from when channeling Amma, the Divine Mother, that we even had incarnations as a bacterium or a virus or an algae, like a one-celled life form, so that we could get used to being in the physical. And then we graduated, to be able to experience more. And so when you think about how many lifetimes we've had, which is innumerable, it's so hard to count, but you have those. And then here's your soul. And this is the book it's the Akashic Records. Everything that you have learned, all your wisdom and knowledge, and you can open it at any time, and you're immediately in that time. But there is no time with your soul.
Right. I understand that.
That's kind of what it's like.
Okay. And I will say this, the bookkeeper that keeps the Akashic records has visited me multiple times and been identified by others prior to speaking with you about that. But he shows up as a very, very small male figure in a very old brown robe with a very old, just a piece of rope, like hemp strands together, tied. And he walks and he has a group of, and he's in brown, and he has a group of hooded black figures that not black hooded figures in a bad way, that walk behind him. And there'll be anywhere from, I mean, at that moment in my life, there were like 7 of them. And then at a different time when I saw him, there were 3. So I don't know if that has any bearing on anything with how many people are with him, but he's visited me multiple times. I've sat up in bed and watched him walk into my room, look at me. The other people come in and stand there and look at me. I had shadow spiders on my wall that were anywhere from the size of a dinner plate to the size of a beach ball. And he walked in and looked at me, and he looked at them, and he looked back at me, and he put his head down, and he said, did something to the other guys. And then they just walked out of my room, and I was completely wide awake sitting there watching this all happen. And I watched the spiders just cruising around on my wall for probably about 10 minutes. I have no idea if shadow spiders have anything to do with it, but I see shadow spiders, big ones.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they were there, but I've seen them multiple times too. So, but it's interesting. So anyway, he has visited me, and I just thought I'd throw that out there since you mentioned Akashic Records.
Do you talk to him?
I have not spoke to him yet, but I was told that he's visiting me because he has something important to share with me, and so I need to start interacting with him. But I have not done that yet.
Why not?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust him. He doesn't put off a negative vibe, but he doesn't put off a positive vibe either. You know what I'm saying? So I don't feel welcomed in his presence.
You could just in all your spiritual your protection. Archangel Michael's a rather big gun, and you can even ask for more. And you can actually send out a plea to the heavens. There's this book called, which I forgot the name of it. It's pink. It's got letters on it. Your heavenly committees or something like that. And you can ask for a group of, believe it or not, there are angels that don't have a job. They would like to have a job, and you can say, I would like experts in
What a bunch of
protection.
freeloaders.
That's right, who can come to me and to work with me. And you can surround yourself with enough protection that you can then ask, why do you want to talk to me? What is there to say to me?
Well, maybe you and I will work on that together.
We can.
Because I don't know that I can do it with self-guidance. I mean, I don't know that I can get myself there. I think I need keeping myself on track to get there.
There are a lot of things that it's like I get people to help me. We may know lots of stuff, but we get so distracted within ourselves. You're familiar with Silva mind control?
I've heard the term.
Okay, well, there's a Body Talk, which is one of my major modalities. They have something similar to it called Mindscape, and I'm a mindscaper.
Okay.
And we go into the depths of ourselves and we have amazing experiences. And that can help you. You can talk to him within with Alma, it's your sacred space, which is in the back of your heart center. Or you can go into like a workshop, a very protected area, and have all your protection around you and bring that being in with protection. So you're fully guarded and protected, and ask questions and get rather amazing answers.
Should I have to be protected though? I guess that's my question. Like, why would I need to be protected to go to the Akashic Records?
You don't necessarily need to be protected to go to the Akashic Records, but we really need to fasten our seatbelts when we're driving in a car, whether you're going from one side of the parking lot to the other, or whether you're driving, as I do, from Arizona to Texas. It's good to have. There's a lot of low vibration energy that's moving around right now. You can look on anything and you'll find, even if whether it's this crazy election that's happening, which isn't so crazy, it's just all the chaos.
Yeah.
Whether it's being aware of what's happening in the Middle East, whether it's being aware of what happens at anything, all of this energy is free floating. And so that can adhere to us when we're not looking. When we go into a place of fear, it's like a sucking thing. All the fear around us that's coming from everything. You're an empath, you know this. Coming from everything comes to you. So if you have protection in whichever way you do it, is that you are more firmly grounded and you're in your heart, and you will find that you can think clearer, more clearly. And when you're not in fear, then you have that expansiveness that can bring in more information to you.
Okay.
And that's part of our spiritual path. That's where people get confused about, they think religion, I'm not interested in religion. This isn't religion. Religion doesn't teach you how to do this. But when you learn how to use the power of your heart, when you learn how to connect certain parts of your energy field together, your aura strengthens and it can repel things. It can repel low vibration energy. And what happens with us is wherever our vibration is, so I talk about it as being a number line. Zeros in the middle, for those of you who have forgotten your math. Zeros in the middle, and then you have the negative numbers and you have the positive numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You can work with low vibration energy. Let's put it on negative numbers. If you have a positive vibration of 2, you can work with low vibration energy of 0 and 1 and 2.
Without being concerned about being harmed.
Correct. But if you have a negative 5 coming at you, go run and hide behind mama's apron. And then as you grow, as you raise your vibration, as you discover that you are stronger than you ever knew, that you are more powerful than you ever knew, and your vibration rises to positive 5, to positive 6, to positive 7, you're also going to discover, as an empath, you will discover that you can push away, dissolve, handle energies that are of a negative 10. So if you're a positive 10, you can handle energies which are a negative 10. And that's what would happen to me when I was doing spirit release work. I found that as I grew and developed spiritually, and by the way, that growing and developing spiritually happens so much when you come to trust source, all that is, love itself, God, whatever name you call it, and you place yourself there and say, I trust you. So you call your spiritual support team. My God, they are created for us to be with us. Each one of us has a guardian. Some of us have more than one guardian. I remember the first time I met my guardian, I was taken through a process with someone, and they said, okay, now here's your this is your guardian angel. And so I met my guardian angel, who wasn't an angel. And I said, are you the one that got me out of that accident? What was happening, I was driving like a banshee down the coast of Texas, which is called the Intercoastal Canal, because I had my mother's car at the time that she needed it back. I was in the convent. I don't even remember why I had her car. And the car was going too slow in front of me. It's probably going 70, right? Car was going too slow. So I pulled over to the side, and here I am with this car on the right side of me, the Gulf of Mexico, it was the bay on the left side of me, but right down there, and an 18-wheeler right in front of me. And I just froze. And suddenly I am transported, the car and everything. I am in front of the other car. It just happened. And so I said, are you the one that got me out of that? And his response was, you were driving like an idiot. And I don't do that much anymore, but I had a tendency of doing that, and had some really, there's no other way to explain it, but miraculous other forces that came and kept me here. So Spirit must have wanted me here, even though I was driving like an idiot. And they're
I thoroughly
there.
believe that. I believe that.
They're there for us.
Yeah.
Use our teams. Use them. They're not going to interfere unless we are connecting with them in some way. So use your team. Gather. Call more if you need to have that protection to talk with that guy. And my sense is you don't need that protection, but there is nothing wrong with having that protection. In fact, you begin to trust more.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I didn't feel a positive vibe from him, so I just was neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was supposed to follow him. Yeah, I didn't know if I was supposed to follow him or what was the deal was, but we'll talk more about it off the air. I've got something I want to share with you that I won't share on the air that happened that the very first time I saw him. And I think that, and I'll share that with you, and then we'll dig deeper into that.
Okay.
Before we move on, I just want to make sure that I'm fully not a part of this topic. And so you have these the energies that you saw on Dave. Do I have anything?
Yeah. You have a grandmother figure. I don't know if it's grandmother, but you have an older woman right behind you, again on the right side of you, standing right behind you, grinning at you.
Yeah, that's my mom.
Okay, just
Mom or
loving
grandma,
you.
too. Yeah.
just loving you.
Why can't I have an archangel? No offense,
You
Mom,
do.
but
No offense,
well,
but you do have angels that are there. You actually work more with Archangel Gabriel, who
yeah.
is the announcer, the proclaimer.
You want to know what's interesting? Because when you talked about Dave having the archangel Michael, I was like, man, I'm like, I would like an archangel. I'm like, but you know what? I go, it's probably going to be Gabriel. so I was way ahead of you on that one. Yeah, my mom's always around. Not a complaint. Just want to let you know. There's not a complaint, but just yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else, Dave, for this particular?
I'm busy writing notes, so I'm ready to transition into whatever you want to. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff I need to get on paper so I don't forget it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, then I want to move on to something that you had talked about last week that was completely, I guess, I don't want to say against, because that's not the correct one, but it contradicts, maybe that's what I'm looking for. Like everything that I've ever known or taught or given advice about, and that's about attachments. Because one of the main questions, Dave can confirm this, that we're always asked as paranormal investigators is, how do you avoid an attachment?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're always talking about intent, and we're always talking about how you phrase your wording so you don't invite anything to attach itself to you, and be respectful, don't provoke, that kind of thing. We give out the natural thing, throw down your borders, your boundaries,
Right.
so they don't do anything. But you said last week that if they're close to you or anything like that, all I have to do is, I'm attached to you, and they go with you until whatever. So is all of that advice we give complete bubkiss? Because
No,
spirit,
it's not.
So I guess what's the difference between the two when you say spirits can just attach themselves to you willy-nilly at their own choice and their own intent, to where we might not want them to be attached to us, and how we're trying to keep them from being attached to us?
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Percentage-wise, the last week, what percentage were you in your heart?
Depending on the topic. Like
Okay.
like the show, 90%. Work, 5.5%.
So if you were not in your heart, which means just you're not centered.
Oh, I'm never in my heart. Oh, okay.
Not
I got you.
Grounded.
Well, that's 0%. I'm never in my heart.
Okay. Well, that's
Cena
not
tells
true.
me I'm always in my head.
You are mostly in your head, but there are times you were in your heart.
Those are horrible.
Because I just saw it. I saw you sneak into it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of your heart. Don't be afraid of it. It may be broken in there, but you can heal that.
Yeah. Broken. We're talking about a 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle.
It's okay. Puzzles get put together. You like puzzles.
I like Legos. It's
amazing.
And that's because they come with instructions,
which you throw away
jigsaw
and
puzzles.
Then just look at the pieces and start putting it together.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never do that. Step by step, Dave.
Cathy, I'm just going to interject here quickly. Broken heart, 100%. 6th time this year I have used 100%. I never say 100%.
Yeah. You can't use that line where I never say 100%. I used 100% 6 times this year.
Okay, right. I rarely use, and this has been going on in the show for years. I will say 99%, 98%, 93%.
Yeah, you're looking at like
rare that I
say, buddy.
Yeah, it's rare that I say 100%. You are 100% on that observation of why Mike is not in his heart.
I'm never gonna deny that.
So let's talk about the complexities of attachments.
Okay.
So let's say that you have a good friend that you've just been buds with for ages. It doesn't matter, male or female, or it could be a family member. That suicides.
Sure, yeah. Oh, I was just saying not suicide.
Or ODs, or something like that. They could just simply, like my brother-in-law, Just a couple of weeks would be the 3rd anniversary of his death from COVID, which just knocked the family totally off. And so you have that going on and you're in deep grief. And that person, because of your grief, may come to you and attach him or herself to you. They may not have ever gone. So there is your emotional self that when you are not in the positive part of the number line and you're not pretty high up and the other person is there and wants to be with you, that person will come and they can attach to you easily. Now, when you're going out and doing your investigations and stuff, I was part of a team that did that for a while. And I remember going to this one house. This woman was having all kinds of problems. And I got very clearly that this was an area where there had been some Native American battles with white people.
Yep.
And that has, y'all know it, but many people don't know. There's all kinds of energy that is there. And I had something that has not rarely happens to me. And that is that when I got in touch with who it was, and I got the fact that this woman's infant son had died, and the person whose house was now in that space, her flower bed was over his grave. Now, there was nothing there to be able to tell. For one thing, babies don't, when they decompose, they're just decomposed. You're not going to run across any bone matter. She jumped into me. That doesn't happen unless I invite it, and I did not invite her in, but it was a very uncomfortable feeling if y'all have had that experience where her energy came in and she started using my vocal cords to talk to the woman who lives in the house. And they came to an agreement is that woman would she would always keep that place sacred and would plant flowers in honor of the child and for the mother. And the conversation probably lasted about 5 minutes. I was exhausted at the end of it, but it was like, here I was in tune, and this being jumped right into me. After it was over, she left because she trusted what this woman said. And as far as I know, this woman, who it was already a little, garden area, did that to honor her son. It is a very uncomfortable thing. Now, that has only happened to me once, but I have had many times where a client would walk out of my office and I know that somebody stayed. And I will look around my office and I found somebody hiding behind the artificial ficus plant, a woman. I said, hi, did you want something? And she wanted to be able to go home. Well, the reason she stayed is it was I call it a transitory attachment. There is quite a grapevine that occurs in the spirit world. She heard by the grapevine that this woman who was passing by her was going to see this other woman who knew how to free people from being stuck on the earth plane when they didn't want to be. And she came in, and so we worked together. So sometimes you are actually a conduit for someone else to work with them. It's like, okay, you're the bus. The bus went by here, you get on the bus. Oh, look, here's my stop. You get off on that. That can happen. The other thing that happens is when you are in fear, when you are in anger, those are two of the major things that occur. And really, we talk about there's only two real energies. There's love and then there's fear. I call it not love. But when you are in a place of not love in any way, you attract those energies to you. This is all part of the law of attraction. You attract those energies to you. And so when you are, let's say, in fear, you not only have your fear, but you have the fear of everything that is around you where there is fear. If it is a child, if you have children, it's a child that got scared. And even though your child never told you about the bully at school, but he still has fear or she has fear, that energy comes into you. And that increases the amount of fear you have. And then you have beings that feed on that fear. So how do you protect yourself? One, how you get your guardians that will work with you. But the other is you have to learn how to release the fear. You have to learn how to stay in the center of your chest and your heart chakra at the very minimum. Heart source, if you know more about that, is that you stay in there and you learn how to breathe through your heart, which deep breaths, cleansing breaths, reset your nervous system. Discover where the fear is in you. And I'll ask people, where do you feel now that you're in your heart? You're grounded. When they say, how do I get grounded? I say, grow roots from your feet. Get grounded and be in your heart. And now where in your body, just kind of do a little scan top to bottom. And where do you feel discomfort? And then I have people focus on that area of discomfort. And I say, just ask, what are you? And usually an emotion comes up. If they don't get anything with what are you, I ask, who are you? And sometimes they'll get a name of someone. Sometimes they know the name. Other times they'll say, well, it's a demonic name. Two different ways to release, but the end result is it all goes back to the creator. So when you're out of the place of love, when you are in not love, you are susceptible to people coming in and attaching. Places to watch that: cemeteries, going by an accident where somebody has died, hospitals, funeral homes. I have a dear friend of mine is that I met her at Catholic Charities in Houston. I worked with pregnant teens. She worked in adoption. And she would go to hospitals regularly when the baby was born. And she would come back with babies attached to her because there were people who had miscarriages in the hospital. It was a Catholic hospital, so there weren't abortions. So all of those things happening. And so and even when she moved to Kentucky and I'm here, she would, when she saw me, she'd go, so do I have any babies attached to me? When she started working in hospice as a social worker in hospice, when I would come and see her, she said, do I have anybody attached to me at all? And we would help them go and release. When I was in the convent and I worked with one of the sisters who worked with AIDS patients, and she was getting, this is really kind of a wild story. She had gone to the doctor for some heart trouble, and she was going to have surgery. And I don't remember what kind. And she asked me, because I was doing healing touch, if there was anything. And there was one of her AIDS patients who had passed on that was attached to her and was attached through the heart. They had gotten to be very close when she ministered to him as he was dying. And I said, let's just help him leave. Let's help him go back to God. And he left. He thanked her. He was with her because she meant so much to him. And he left, and she went to the doctor to prepare for surgery, and she didn't need it anymore. That's wonderful and wild. And people would call it miraculous, but it wasn't miraculous. I just helped him go home. So sometimes, like when I get attachments now, usually it's somebody knows that I help them, and I help them go home, and things will change. Other times, we're born with things that are in different places. It could be coming from our mother. Whatever happened to, and it doesn't matter, it's just your birth mother. When you're in the womb, we get her feelings. If something happens, if she's struggling, like one of her parents is dying at the time that she's pregnant, or something else happens, she may be in an accident, that kind of thing. Sometimes we can get attachments from that angle and let them go. I work with, when I'm doing healing work with women, it is not unusual for me to find babies. I worked with this one woman who was almost 90. And I went, I always try to present it gently, but I just say, have you had any miscarriages or abortions? And she said, I had 2 abortions. And I said, you have 2 souls here, because I already felt them. The question was it a miscarriage or an abortion? And when she was in her 20s, she was 90, in her 20s, these were backstreet abortions. And I helped her get in touch with the souls of that child, of those children. She named them, and then they left her, and she said she just felt a lightness of being. If you have someone that died and you're focusing and focusing and focusing on it, and you're keeping them here, which happens often with especially parent-child relationships. And sometimes it's the person that died, is they are the ones that are in fear of leaving you, or they are just absolutely horrendously in shame because of something that they did, and they want to apologize. But how do I apologize now? And that's what I will help them do. So the major thing to stay out of the attachments is stay in your heart and stay grounded.
Okay, I'm going to sum this up. So is it fair to say that not all attachments are bad, right? That's fair to say. Okay.
Correct.
That a negative attachment can't attach to you if your vibrational level is high enough, right?
Correct. They can hang around,
so like
but not be attached.
But not be attached, but it can kind of try to wait around for a weak moment and then try to jump, whatever, right? Just to be an ass. I mean, they like,
and that's exactly what they're doing. Dave's being an ass.
Right.
They don't have anything else to do. It's a game to them.
Right. Exactly. It's always a game to them. So, and then, so the third thing I was going to say now, of course, in my old age, it's escaping me, but it was to the point of, I know what it was, tethering. So I use the term tethering when I've spoken with clients and stuff like that. So is that kind of the same thing as what you were just talking about, with where your emotional tie to a deceased loved one is so strong that you don't, and not that you're trying to intentionally do it, but your energy is so focused and so strong that you create like a tether point that keeps them tied to our plane and doesn't let them move on? Or does that not happen? I mean, do they have the ability to just move on their own if they don't feel the guilt or the remorse or whatever, and they want to move? Can they move? Or do we have the ability to tether somebody here with a huge emotional outpouring of focused energy and love?
Okay. So earlier when we were talking about how you can release energies yourself, you said you needed a guide to help you to do that. It does better. It's the same with some people, is that they need a guide to help. You might enjoy getting on your show Father Nathan Castle, who has people come to him in a dream that says, and they say, help me go home. And basically what happens with him is he actually sees the way they died. And they just want to go to another standpoint. But Father Nathan, Castle, he's down in Tucson. And he's written several books about life. I think it's called Life Interrupted, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And he works with people in that way. I work with people who come in with clients usually, or somebody else like that. So it's a different way of what happens. There are just as many stories of helping attachments, people, souls go on as there are stories that you have in this world. Mm-hmm. You will have beings of darkness, which I think I mentioned it last time. I can't remember.
This is right when you got cut off. I'm just
that's when that's probably why it happened.
That's exactly what happened. We were talking about all this love and positivity, and then you jumped into the whole darkness and beings, And like, I'm not kidding you, within 30 seconds, you were out of here.
Okay. That's, I
So
mean,
just
I'm
throwing
good.
that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Well, it's been a good run, Kathy.
protect
Yeah, it was
this
good to see you
now.
again, Kathy.
So what the Christian churches believe, and this includes the Catholic Church, is that that's right. That's what we were talking about, was
We were,
once
yep.
the angels had seen God, and then you had the group that rebelled, that wanted their own power,
Yep.
which is microcosm of what, or we're a microcosm of what happens, is that the belief was that you cannot go back to God. You can't change your mind after that. And I
Right.
think I was about that time saying God is just a God of love. God will take back any of its creation.
You actually
And
shared a story with us about somebody making the journey back to God that had once walked on Lucifer's side, and you just
yes,
got done sharing that story and you were out.
that's it. And
Yep.
that's because, and the reason I was out is because, and they're trying to get back in right now, is because the lie that is given to those beings is that they can't return.
Right.
When if they know that they can return, there might be a mass exodus, or they're trying to find people that can help them to go back. And so
Right.
I think, and I'm going to say this out loud, just as I think I said, is I have those beings look within themselves. Look within yourself and find out, if anybody's here, look within yourself and find out what's there. And they will see the light. And the light that is there, some start off with a red light, but then it expands. That is proof that you're being lied to, because you are of the light and you may return to the light. It is totally your choice to do that.
And that's the end of episode 2. I'm waiting for you to cut out. I'm just waiting for you to cut out at any second, because that's like exactly where you left it. And then you said you tell them to look for the white light, and sometimes it's just the most minute little speck, like a speck of dust.
Mm-hmm.
But you tell them to find it. And then when they find it, to focus on it and grow it and let it come up to the surface and not be pushed down and squashed and hidden and stomped on like it has been forever. And that when they get that little tiny speck of white light, that little dust particle that's shining within them, they can bring that up to the surface, and that is their passage back to God.
That is their passage back. And what I also do, and I learned this from somebody else, what I also then do is I call those who were once in darkness but are now in the light to come and talk to them, so that they can have experience from beings that they knew, who looked totally different and totally transformed. And we bring in protective energy, especially for the higher level,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are like the most evil or the most powerful.
If I cut
And
out, you guys keep going.
So we have that protection that are around them, so that they cannot be grabbed, they cannot be kidnapped, so that they are protected. And one of the things with this, which I didn't mention, that can happen, is that your attachments can have attachments.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have human attachments.
I have that, by the way. I have an attachment that has an attachment that is
And that could have an
not always
attachment.
attached. Yeah,
It's called a
not always
vacuum,
attached to
Dave.
me.
Get over it.
Huh?
That it's called a vacuum, Dave. Get over it.
No. You already know this. It's an attachment that arbitrarily pops in and out at its whenever it wants to, and then that attachment has another attachment.
And that can happen. And I have worked with people.
Yeah, that happens to me.
I worked with, I call it those who have lost their way. Okay. Those who have forgotten who they are, or the lower vibration ones, those who have lost their way, or the humans, the ghosts. And what I have had, it wouldn't go. And finally I went, oh yeah, I forgot. Do you have someone attached? Do you look around? And sometimes it's, with humans, it is almost always a mother. A real mother will be attached, and then their mother will be attached. But then if one of them has a dark being that's attached to them, which sometimes has like anger, betrayal, hatred, despair, we can call those spirits of anger, of hatred, of despair. and it collects. And you have to go to the outer limits. You have to find the last attachment, and it's like peeling an onion, literally. Is then you release that one, and then you release this one, and you release this one. And you will have people from the, let's call it the dark side. Oh, the dark side. You have people, the beings that are there that say, hey, we're being attacked. Let's go. And so they start coming and call Archangel Michael, all of his band, and they form a barrier. They're right there with swords drawn. Those are swords of transmutation, by the way. They're not swords of death. So they transmute, and they are there, and they protect and take that being or those beings home. It's pretty cool.
It sounds like you're
cool.
talking about like a spiritual conga line.
Yeah, it could be. You're right.
I wonder if you can make him dance.
Hey-o. Hey-o.
That's right. Anyway, so I mean, I guess like with Dave's time thing, this is a little bit much for me to take in. So I guess my question is then for people who don't have like abilities and the ability to send stuff like you and Dave can and stuff like that, like me, because I've had an attachment before which I did not invite. It had nothing to do with me, but I had zero like notification or anything that she was even here, like she was with me. And the only reason that I even knew that it happened at all was because a medium that Dave and I had brought on the team at that time told me so. And even then I didn't even believe him, because I'm like, what is this attachment waiting for me to die of old age? I'm like, because it's not doing anything. It's not making its presence known. I don't feel weird. I don't have any like health issues that maybe
right.
Yeah, like I don't have anything that's bothering me. So I have two questions now. So the first one is, when spirits who have no connection really to you whatsoever somehow attach themselves to you but don't do anything, what is their actual goal when they do that?
They just like your energy.
Yep.
Yeah, she wanted an apology from me.
For what?
Because you challenged her at the cemetery.
No, it wasn't a challenge. Because that had nothing to do. No, because apparently we were investigating a location that had a cemetery attached to it, and it was dark. We always investigate at dark, and apparently I had accidentally stepped on flowers that were on the grave of one of her friends. And I didn't know this. So of course I didn't apologize, or I didn't do anything about it, because I didn't know that I had done it. And so she wanted an apology from me for doing that, which is completely okay. Absolutely. That's fair. And I guess when I gave my apology
too, if you think about it.
That's what?
Like the spirit, it's petty that she would think that way, because the spiritual energy, for her to have to attach herself to you, that's just kind of a petty thing, I think. I mean, like,
a sign of a deeper problem.
I was going to say, there's right.
Of me or her?
Her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, her. Right.
I didn't know. Mike, are you accusing me of something? I don't know where we're
going.
No. Which way are we going here? So there's that question, is when that stuff happens, what is their actual goal in doing that? And the thing is, and the other question is, how does somebody like me tell that I have an attachment, or I may have an attachment, without being told by somebody who has abilities? Because even the person you used, who had the aborted babies all over, like, she had to ask you, do I have any on me?
No.
And I've actually done that before. Like, I've asked Cena, I've asked, anyone that has, I'm like, do you sense anything on me? And they're like, yeah, no. But I mean, I guess for people not me, but are worried about it, is there a way to tell?
Well, going kind of deeper a little bit, is don't be in fear about it, for one thing. For the other is that if you have I'll often say, do you have thoughts that you don't know where they come from? Now, all of us have some thoughts that they don't know, but let's say recurrent thoughts. Like, you're no good. Who the hell do you think you are? You can't do any of this. And it just goes on and on and on. I start looking for an attachment. If it's not an attachment, then it can be tapes from father energy or mother energy or something else like that. But I will start looking for that. And sometimes there is, and sometimes there's not. Go ahead. I'll let you talk. I'll breathe.
Well, I appreciate that. Want you to be healthy. I would say I only have thoughts like that about other people.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think you are? What are you doing? You're suck. So that's about everybody else, not me. So no.
Yeah. But I would still have you, if you were in my office, I would still have you try to figure out. And basically what it is okay, listen to that. Who do you think you are? Who do you think? And I'll go, when you say that, when you hear that in your mind, is that a male voice or a female voice having you say that?
I would think that it would probably be a female voice, but I don't ever hear it. I was just saying it in a hypothetical situation.
Yeah. But if that's, and they say female, I can say, who in your family? It's usually a family or a teacher. Who is it would say things like that?
Are you actually asking me or just a hypothetical?
No, it's not hypothetical, and you know that. So,
well, that would absolutely be my father. So I mean, it wouldn't be female for me; it would be male. But
so I would then do several things. I would look to see if it's an attachment or if it's something that you have taken so much into yourself, and we do healing work with. Because just because you have certain things, you probably have you, me, everybody has healing work that they need to do. Mm-hmm. And there's simple people. There's all kinds of healing work, that people can do simple things like that. But attachments, many times they're just there. They are, some people, they're walking along. I saw this happen one time down in the mall. Down at the mall, I can't tell you the last time I've been to a mall, but this was years ago when people went to the mall all the time. And you go down the mall, and I saw this spirit. I could tell the spirit was attacked, and I don't see with my eyes like some do. I'm more claircognizant. I know what is happening, and I saw this spirit, and I saw this spirit switch to someone else. It's like, oh, I like her energy or his energy better. Oh, the color's there. I'm going to go play with them for a while.
Well, since time is happening, past, present, and future all at the same time, that might have been me. So, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hop woman to woman to woman. Make up for lost. I know I was alive.
I would help you find some other way to be cold than to harass women.
Hey, I would not harass anybody. Thank you very much.
I will interject this since you're thinking it, Cathy, because I can tell kind of you're on this wavelength and you're like wavelengthing me. So Mike's dad did pass recently, and his spirit has been to Mike's house.
Recently. Yeah.
Recently. So if, because even Mike asked the question, was he there just to say hi and just say, hey, I'm here, I'm around if you need me, or was he there for some other, kind of reason?
Well, did he have a message? Did he have something he wanted to say?
Yeah.
Was the thing. Yeah.
So anyway, he's around.
But I was told he just wanted to let me know that he was around. Okay. Same as my mom.
Yeah. And so if I was seeing you, I'd say, ask him if he's gone back to God since he left his body. Has he had a life review?
I don't know about the life review, but I know he's golfed. So that's kind of the same thing.
Not exactly.
For him, it is.
No, but it isn't. I mean, you can still golf, but one of the things is, so have you had a life review? Hey, Dad, did you experience my feelings when you beat the shit out of me at this time?
Yeah, I'm not going to ask that question.
Because you'll find out, and you find out because we don't know that we all want this, but we want everyone to return to God and finish that life cycle. That's what I call it, a life cycle. To finish that, if you haven't watched on YouTube the near death experiences of people, you should, because it's fun.
We're gonna do a
Not
show on
should, but they're just really amazing.
Yeah, near NDEs, we're doing it. We've been talking about it for years. We just have not found the right person to have on yet, but we're going to do a show on near death experiences. And I think it's fascinating. And being in the hospital myself on the verge of being dead multiple times, I'm fascinated by that. Like, why am I still around?
Mhm.
So, wait. I want to go back because I heard a term that I've never heard before. I want more information on it. Life review. So, I mean, I know that it's been a thing where you stand in front of the pearly gates, and was it like St. Paul is there or whatever?
St. Peter.
St. Peter. There we go. I knew we started with
Yeah, get the
St.
right
Peter.
one. The keys to the kingdom.
Right. So, and they're like, "Oh, you did this and this and that." But I mean, what is a life review? Because is it like where you have to relive everything that you've ever done right and wrong and feel the emotions of other people that you like helped or hurt?
In a
Boy,
nutshell.
it'd be good if you did.
Well,
In a
geez,
nutshell.
no wonder
But there's
nobody
a
wants to go.
purpose. There's a purpose
I'll
to
go.
it. The purpose is for you to be able to experience what you learned, for you to be able to experience the power of your thoughts and your words and your actions, and for you to see how it has long-term effects. So that, and I can tell you, life review, now that I don't believe in hell, life review just scares the kajibers out of me, because I think of that I actually experience the feelings of people. We automatically go to what we did wrong, to the things that we're either ashamed of or feel guilty about or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to experience the pain that I caused on somebody else. And in the channeling that I do, what I found is not only do we see what resulted in else, we see what our actions on their actions did over generations.
That's brutal.
Don't you think that's brutal?
I think that's brutal. That's hell.
But the whole purpose of it is not punishment. The purpose of it is to be able to see
Understand, right?
To understand wisdom and knowledge. So the people that I have known that had life reviews, or that I listen to those near-death experience things, which is just amazing. They say the one, like maybe it's Jesus who's showing it to you, but it's according to your tradition and what you believe. And so Jesus is there, says, oh, and it says they never do anything that's guilt or shame. It's, oh, this is where you learned this. This is where you found out this. This is where you really tried in whatever it is. So it is not meant as pain. Although I heard someone tell a story how they were listening to somebody else's near-death experience, and this guy was having his life review. He was an assassin. That was his job. He had a near-death experience, and in his life review, he felt the pain not only of every person that he had killed, but what happened to their families. And just was that he just crumbled and said, please stop, please stop. And he went back and changed his life totally. So you have those experiences, but most of us, what we focus on is the negative. And what we don't realize is that crazy time that you hear was a mother with twins and a sack and this and that and the other trying to get in. And you open the door for her, and what that did for her. Just that little bitty thing of what it did. The time when you just were walking along and you just smiled at someone. And what that did. And I think about the story of this. Well, he was a young man. He was graduating from high school, and he was actually giving the address at high school. And he said to his best friend. He said, when you met me that day, when we first met each other, and you saw my arms filled with things, and you offered to help me carry them home, and you carried them home, and we ended up talking and having a good time. What I never told you, that I had cleaned out my locker so that my parents didn't have to do it, because I was killing myself that day. And
That's
that
deep.
simple act of just helping him, it changed his life. And sometimes that happens, that simple thing of, it's, it's going to be okay. It's something you may even say flippantly to someone who you see is having a hard time. You say, look, it's going to be okay. Hang in there. There's a woman who would go and put notes, and I think on the Golden Gate Bridge in different places, and say, you don't need to do this, because they had such a high suicide rate from there. And one person contacted, I don't know how, she had her number or something, and said, you can call me and talk. This person said, you saved my life, because I saw that, and that, though, just those words. So when we feel that impulse to do something, we are changing lives in many ways that we would never know. And you have to realize, you don't have to, but it helps, that when you save that life, you change generations of lives. Generations of lives, so that person may have, okay, they go and they have a child. And then that child has a child who ends up to be the one that discovered some huge thing. Semiconductor could have been at one time. But we don't know the power of our lives and those small things that we do upon others. And that's one of the most important to learn from a spiritual level. When you talk about the supernatural zone is to realize, for me, it's to realize the power of your thoughts. Odyssey.
Actually, I was doing the supernatural zone.
Yeah, and that's where I was getting it. I was reading it. Is that we have so much supernatural within us. It is beyond nature. It's like metaphysical, beyond the physical. And the power is in our heart, in our thoughts, and to realize that just the smallest thing can change someone's life. And we don't even know what it is. And those little things, those are the things we're not even going to remember.
No, not until we're showing them in the review.
Yeah. Or you run across someone that said, when you said, and I've had that, as a therapist and get things, and somebody runs into me and they said, I never told you what you did for me. And I had one woman, she said, I became a social worker because of you. Another person said, I began to believe in myself. Now I've also got this call from this one man who came to tell me of something that I said to him, and it was about attachments and changing his life, or he was going to end up in trouble. He was devastated by that. And he called to tell me that. It was years later. And I congratulated him on his courage. And I hope that had a positive effect on it, because that, of course, wasn't my intent. And how many times do we have good intentions and then we just say the wrong thing at the wrong time?
Well, all I have to say is I'm going on a diet because I need to live for a lot of years. I don't want my life review quite yet.
I kind of understand that. I'd probably try to avoid mine at different times, for sure. But we may need you in this podcast going on for a while.
Oh, you definitely need me. Dave doesn't have any clue how to run the show.
Oh.
He's absolutely right.
I go, the show goes.
Yeah. Until I find a new co-host who knows how to run a show.
Whatever.
I don't want you to go anywhere, Mike.
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna end my thought with this though. If I had to have a life review today, I'm comfortable.
Yay.
And I don't know that
Yeah,
a lot of people can say that, but I'm comfortable. If I had to have my life review right now, there's going to be some stuff I'm ashamed of, but I would not fear it. I would embrace it as a learning moment. But I tell you what, I am way to the positive side of love and happiness and sharing and caring about people deeply than ever hurting people and stuff. My life review right now would not scare me in any way, shape, or form.
I just want to say, Dave, that while we were talking about this, you were sitting there looking really smug. It shrunk my brain a little bit in frustration.
Yeah. Well, it didn't, and it should have for you, but I'm completely comfortable.
That's fair.
I mean,
So-
I don't want to go anywhere right now. Obviously, I've got things I still would like to accomplish. I mean, I haven't got to meet Cathy yet. We're going out for lunch this spring. I'd like to learn more about this guy from the Akashic record, although what I'm gonna share with her, maybe I don't want to, but I mean, there's a lot of things I want to learn yet, and a lot of people I still want to reach out and help while I'm here. So
It's
I'm not going
amazing.
anywhere. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere for a while.
So
I
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you because I'm changing the topic totally.
Oh,
Okay.
I was too. So we're on the same page. So take the top to what you want to talk about.
I was going to share the incident that happened to me that I told David one time that I think originally got me on the show. Where I live right outside of Sedona, Arizona, in a place called Cottonwood. Now, I'm lived in Houston for 35 years, and if you said, well, I've got to go over here, and it's like 5 miles away, it takes an hour to get there. So Cottonwood is 25 miles from Sedona, and usually it takes 25 minutes to get there, which is pretty cool. So and that's the people I live with, Barb and Fox and myself, we're sitting there because we have beautiful sunsets on this side, and we have beautiful sunrises on this side. And we have Sedona, you can come to Sedona and take one of these go look for UFO kind of things. And I've never done one, but it might be fun. But I'm usually in bed well before that happens. But we're standing out there and we're watching, and there is this light, this bright light, and it's a vehicle of some time, and it is going fast at if you have an airplane next to it, it way outdid that, and it's going at a 45-degree angle. And we're sitting there watching it, and it's going faster and faster and faster, and it disappears, just like you see on Star Trek. And we looked at, we went, oh, looking at that experience. And people around here will talk about many, many things that they see in the night sky. We have two places, and it seems to happen seasonally. And it looks like a star, and yet it dances. And sometimes there's little red lights that come from it that dance around. And we just really enjoy the night sky and seeing those things. I didn't know until I got here, and a friend of mine who went to one of these tours that, we're going to go find UFOs today or tonight. And she was telling me things that you had to see. And one of them was a perfect triangle. It's like 3 different vehicles of the perfect triangle. Y'all probably know all about this one. It just reminded me that I was in Houston and in my front yard, and it was dusk. And I was amazed at how there were these 3 points of light, which I assumed were planes like jets, but they could be the perfect triangle that held its space around there in Houston. And of course, you'd think there's probably a lot of UFOs with the space center, being held there, NASA Center and stuff like that. So I've had a few experiences like this. My housemate Barb, she actually had the experience of, it must have been an away vehicle or something that was having a difficult time, and she saw it on the street trying to go and get away, get up, and finally it made it up and took off. She's had that experience before. It's really kind of fun when you hear people, around here. So that actually was one of the original things I shared with you, David. And you said,
You did.
Well, I do da-da-da-da kind of things.
Yep. And then we kind of bounced a few stories off each other. Absolutely. So And then I shared that with Mike, and we had a conversation about it, and it was kind of like this. So, do you think that the activity for potential UFO activity around that Sedona area is because of the, I don't want to call them sacred sites, but the high vibrational level sites that are there?
The
Do you,
vortexes that are
yeah,
there.
the vortexes that are there? Do you think that that intelligent life from someplace other than the planet Earth is drawn to special locations like that on the planet Earth because they get something from it, whether it be
Hmm.
maybe it just makes them happy. I mean, it doesn't have to give them something, right? It's not a reward. I mean, it could just be it gives them a smile, it gives them love and light, it gives them whatever, or it could give them a little bit of energy because of the vortex, could give them some type of energy that they need for their propulsion or whatever the case might be. But do you think that not only Sedona, but other areas around the planet Earth that are
Mount
kind of
Shasta.
known to be locations like that, do you think that entities are drawn there because of something happening within our planet itself?
I think so. I think they're portals, like that starship that disappeared. I think
Yeah.
went through a portal of some kind. Um, I was walking. Come on, Kathy, you'll remember the name of the place. Anyway, somewhere out there near Enchantment. And the name may come to me, and it was one of my favorite places to walk. And I would turn this one area and walk, and for about 3 or 4 times that I was there, this being I didn't see, I felt it. About I'm 5'2", about 7.5 feet tall, would join me, and I would talk to it and get these. It was all in my mind, right? It was the telepathic type thing. And what I learned from that being was that, ooh, somebody's not going to like me saying this. Tough stuff, y'all. They were us from the future. We are here, and we are trying to keep you from making the mistakes that we made.
Yep. That
And
makes sense.
I was asking at the time, I said, we were talking about the environment, and I said, well, does recycling do anything? And he said, no, recycling doesn't do anything except it makes people aware. And I said, well, what are the biggest things that can cause problems? And one is, which you could probably guess pretty easily, was nuclear energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other was the HARP program. Have y'all done HARP program?
Yeah, and up in Alaska.
Up in Alaska, and
Yep. Trying to control the weather.
Right. And also you have the military that uses it as they want to use it as a weapon.
Right.
And there have been
Super
cases where they've done nice little things, let things off, and we've had some earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
One in Haiti, that one in Chile a while back, a few years back. And I thought it was interesting is that those were I can understand nuclear energy, but I don't know enough about what HARP does. I know that it's sound waves and things like that. And I also know that people try to say, the HARP program, you're just into one of those conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But it's
in a location all by itself. We're just monitoring the weather. Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing the bullshit flag. That's not the case. It's a weapon that they're playing with to see. We talked about this, and we've talked about Nikola Tesla a lot on this show, right? Some of the stuff, that amazing things that he did. Back in the day, he created a death ray.
Yeah.
That, had it been weaponized, would have ruled the world. And he intentionally destroyed it and destroyed all of his records because he did not want that to get into the hands of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When he passed, the government stepped in and raided his lab and took every single speck of everything he had ever done, all of his journals, his papers, and everything else. There was nothing left. Everything is probably in the basement of the Smithsonian.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Which either that or the Vatican, because that's like the two places that have the biggest basements with all the things that we would like to see that are hidden that they won't share with us.
Mhm.
So, and that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. I mean, he had created a weapon that could have changed our lives on the planet Earth, and then realized what a danger that was to let that be put into somebody's hands and destroyed it. That HARP system is the same type of thing, except for the fact that the boys who don't need to play with it are playing with it.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And it's, it can be catastrophic. It's the same thing when we talked about on the show many times too. They talked about seeding the atmosphere and how the Army general said in interview after interview after interview and after interview that the government is not seeding the atmosphere. They have never done anything like that. There are no chemtrails, none of this, none of that. It's all bullshit. It's all a conspiracy theory. And then when he retired, before he died, he did an interview and said, yeah, we've been seeding for the last 20 years. Chemtrails are a real thing. And he just let it all out because he had nothing to lose at that point.
Mm-hmm. I had a friend of mine that talked to one of the pilots with the chemtrails, and the pilot told him about the equipment that they have that's there when they're chemtrails, and people said, no, they're just the vapor trails.
They're the
but
vapor trails,
there's a difference.
They're not. Yeah.
There's a difference because I can tell it because they disperse very quickly, and the others stay there for ages.
Right.
And it's fascinating.
Except for the fact that our weather has changed drastically since we've been toying around with this. So,
I'd have to go and look how many 100 plus days did we have in Cottonwood, and it didn't used to get that hot. We're having the temperatures that Phoenix used to have.
Yeah.
And now Phoenix is getting hotter.
Well, last Christmas it was 52 and sunny with green grass on the ground at my house on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
In Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I've lived in the Midwest for 56 of my 59 years. It has never been green on Christmas Day. So
here it is.
And something is up, right? We're messing with stuff we shouldn't be messing with. So it's fascinating to me that you spoke to this entity, this future traveler, for lack of a better term, and I'm not trying to label it, so I'm just putting a name on it. So this traveler that came back, that shared that with you, that those are the things that the mistakes that they made, we need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. And we're living in that life right now.
Right.
I mean, we're experiencing it right now.
So my question is, was there anything else that this entity decided to share with you?
Like lottery numbers?
No.
Kentucky Derby trifecta?
It was interesting. That's all that he talked in. It felt like a masculine energy. But very, how do I want to say it? It isn't that sense of love where you feel sometimes that when you're experiencing the love surrounding you, but it was a very caring energy and not concern in the sense that there was any fear. It was, this is the stuff that you need to know. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I don't have anything. There's nothing I can do to stop that. It says, no, but the more people that know, and the more people that know to stay out of fear, and, people will call all this kind of stuff conspiracy theories, and they don't realize that who is that journalist? She has mugs now that say, I have to get new conspiracy theories because all my others have been proven true. And
I don't know, but I love that saying.
And that is that Cheryl Atkinson, I think is her name. Okay. And what is interesting is that the whole thing that I believe, and I know y'all believe it, and I'm sure you've talked about on the show, is how the media does everything they can to produce fear.
Mhm.
And my housemate Barb, she's a news hound, and she watches the news. Well, she's quit doing it 24 hours a day because now she'll watch some other things. But I'm constantly saying, can we watch something with a plot?
Yeah.
And to get away from that, and in the channeling that I do, it comes up as the key is to stay out of fear. So with the heart source that's developed is that it keeps us balanced so that we can feel, experience, hear the truth, and to know when things are just garbage, when they're off. And it doesn't matter whether they're liberal or conservative or don't have anything. Nobody tells the truth.
Right.
It's always twisted in some way. And so we have to, and I really mean it, we have to learn how to stay in our heart chakra. Why are we talking about staying in love there? No, you're talking about staying out of fear. This is the center of your body that you can stay out of fear, that you can breathe and go, oh, okay, be quiet, be calm. Do those types of things so that you can just listen and feel your intuition, to feel, does that really feel right? Not up here in your head, but here or in your gut.
Yeah, mine's in my gut. I was
Yeah.
just going to say that. Yeah, I call it my spidey senses because it tingles. Like if I'm walking into a situation and there's something that's important that I need to know, it doesn't have to be paranormal. It could just be any situation. If there's something important I need to be aware of, like I need to be more alert and attentive to my surroundings, I'll get the butterflies in my belly
Mm-hmm.
all the time. That's my telltale sign.
I had the first time I had COVID, I had this experience. I have this, let's just say I like carbs. And the only way for me to not have carbs is the only way for me to manage carbs is to not have any. And I was going to do some emotional eating, and I went to the grocery store and I got always ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
a frozen key lime pie, and some cookies.
There you go.
And people may wonder, how can you're only 5'2", this or that. Yeah, I could eat all that in one day. My body was screaming, no! I mean, it was screaming, no. Well, I didn't eat all of it, but I ate half of it. And 12 hours later, I had COVID. I was sick as a dog. It was right when this was first starting, and my immune system was, and didn't have anything to do with COVID. It had to do with the fact that I just burned out my immune system, and I got whatever virus was coming around, and it happened to be COVID at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the last few years have all been difficult physically because I did that and didn't listen to what my body was saying to me. Because I've had a whole series of things. And so it's trying to pay more attention to my body and to listen when it says, don't do that. Do I do it all the time? No. But it's something that I've been making a greater effort at doing. And there are things that are real simple that aren't really paranormal in the woo-woo kind of thing. But we all know what is right for us if we listen.
It's the free will moment.
It is the free will moment.
It's the free will moment.
And we have the free will to end the show.
Regretfully, it has been 2 hours.
Yes.
Way
Really?
too fast.
You told me that it would go fast.
Yes, I did.
I told you that too.
Just to put a final point on what you were just talking about, it was interesting how you said, like, nobody tells the truth and stuff like that. And one of the things that I've always struggled with is what is my purpose, here specifically. And this is something I've asked Cena about and whatnot, and she's answered it the same way every time that I've asked her, and it's, you're the truth teller.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's why, I have to do this show, because it's a way for the truth to get out.
But and I'm the starseed, which is hilarious that you said it tonight, Cathy. Casina has called me that for years. She's like, "You're one of the star seeds."
Yeah.
And then you said it today, and I just let it kind of fly by at the moment.
I think you're more of a weed seed myself. But
Well, and I think David, we connected pretty quickly.
We did, yeah.
We really, I buy jewelry from the salesman, here, just got a hold of him. And we connected pretty quickly. And I think that there's probably on another level in the star seed category that we know each other very well.
I'm sure we do. Yeah. Because I feel very comfortable with you, and I have that happen to people. I've got out of the 600 clients I have right now, I have 3 people, you and 2 other individuals, that I feel like we know each other. We've shared quality times together.
Bond some way out, Dave.
But anyway, so what I want to do is I'd like to give Cathy a moment to kind of promote herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where can people get a hold of you?
Where can they find you? Our listeners get a hold of you, go through some of these life sessions with you and stuff?
My email address, Cathy with a C, Chapman, CATHY, CHAPMAN, PhD @gmail.com. My website is Odyssey, ODYSSCY. A lot of people don't know how to spell that, but y'all do.
They don't.
They
don't.
Correct.
You're right.
I have people spell it ODD.
Yep.
Odyssey to Wholeness, WHOLENESS.com. And my YouTube channel, where I have lots of my Sunday ceremonies and other things, is DRCATHYPHD on YouTube. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Beautiful.
Perfect. And I have thoroughly enjoyed myself.
We're glad. Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed you being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. And because we only got to like 2 of our topics out of the 7 that we had just from last week.
Yeah, I didn't even get a question out. From last week.
We'll bring you back.
If you'd like to come back, we would love to have you back. Absolutely.
We would love to come back.
All right. Well, until next time then. But Dave and I will be back next week with our Halloween episode talking about the Crossroads Demon. And so we want to see you back here next week. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe. Have a great night.
Take care.